Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Grandma's Handbag. My name's Dean. So glad you could join us for this episode. We've got a thread response tonight. Thread response to Vinyl Transmissions via Tales from the Crate. Now, sorry, Vinyl Transmissions, I'd forgotten your name just as I go to air. Doesn't this happen? But great little thread idea. Give me 5 music quotes. And I've seen Tales from the Crate Andrew do this, and just a quick thank you to you, Andrew. Lovely shout out to you from you in your contest entry. I think for my friend Morrissey. Very, very humbled by that. And also thank you to all new subscribers that have come across. Welcome. I hope you find something of interest in these episodes here. And let's hope this one doesn't get too deep, too metaphysical or anything like that. But, you know, we are delving into music quotes and a little bit of backstory and history and things like that. Anyway, first things first, Grandma's Little Helper. We have got the 18-year-old Highland Park, which I'll show you there. Beautiful single malt whiskey out of Scotland. This is one of my all-time favourite malts. Beautiful stuff. You get this good citrusy fruit to start with, and it goes into this real salty tang and a bit of smoke to finish. It's incredible. One of the most generous gifts I've ever been given as well. If you've got the money, highly recommend Highland Park 18. Incredible stuff. Anyway, back to the thread response. Give me 5 music quotes. Look, this happened about 2 weeks ago, these quotes. So, you know, I get this feeling I move pretty slowly when it comes to the to some things like thread responses and that in the VC. But, you know, you can't really rush it too much either. That's what this stuff's about. It's about appreciating music, and it's appreciating, you know, the time and space it takes to enjoy what you love about music and records and your collection. So yeah, you know, I can't be rushed on these sorts of things. I wish I could, I tell you now. I feel like I'm getting slower and slower. Even the way I talk, seriously, these days, sometimes you talk to a kid of 18 or 19, 2 different languages. And I think I'm on the wrong side of history with that one. Anyway, look, 5 quotes. I've gone for 4 quotes from musicians about music and 1 lyrical quote that just always seems to pop back up in my head. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? And that music is so powerful that it's quite beyond my control. And when I'm in the grips of it, I don't feel pleasure and I don't feel pain, either physically or emotionally. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Have you ever felt like that? When you just couldn't feel anything and you didn't want to either. You know, like that. Do you understand what I'm saying, sir? Thank you, Iggy Pop. Thank you for putting into words something I have felt so deeply about music for a long, long time. To delve back into a backstory, about 10, 12 years ago, I did a zine. It's the closest I've done. I can't play any musical instruments, so this is the closest I've done to producing an album. Very, very special thing for me, and it's obviously got you know, musical bases to it. As you can see, there's CDs that I've created. It's all very loaded, as you'd imagine, but one of the quotes in there is exactly that Iggy Pop quote. And it's lovely. It's worth taking the time. I'll put a link in there, or a picture somewhere, so you can actually read the whole interview or 3 minutes of it. Wonderful stuff. But I first came across that one on Mogwai's Come On Die Young, which they sampled the quote on their opening track, Punk Rock. And it's kind of more or less haunted or stayed with me this whole time. So yeah, an absolutely pivotal quote for me. The next one is David Bowie, another artist who I'm just, the older I get, the more and more I can find in his music and career. And, you know, each album or era tends to grow and speak to a different version of yourself as you get older. Anyway, there's one that I got from David Bowie. I don't know if it's paraphrase or what. And again, it actually turns up in my zine that I did years and years ago. And that is, religion is for people who fear hell, and spirituality is for people who have been there. And yeah, this one's just really, I don't know, it grabs something deep inside and shakes me. I suppose, you know, I grew up going to Catholic religious schools as a kid. The family wasn't overly religious, but I found that leaving school, going to university and that, you basically had to unlearn a lot of what you were taught about, you know, religion and even spirituality and that. And coupled that with your own exploration of self, your own demons, you know, the things that you learn about yourself came to very much steering away from religion, as you know, as you do when those things are forced down your throat, effectively anyway. So yeah, David's quote is just something that has made a lot of sense to me, and it's sort of exemplified. I'd say if I'm going to pull an album out and show, it would be this one. It's an intensely spiritual / religious album. There's religious allusions all the way through, whether it be to fringe religions. You know, Kether and Malkuth are, I forget the exact strain of religion or Judaism or that now. But then, you know, songs like Word on a Wing play out almost as a prayer. The title track as well is just this trip through almost a spiritual wasteland. It's fascinating stuff. So you can believe that David Bowie has traversed that kind of spiritual terrain of hell and coming back in order to you know, to comment on it, to give us an idea of what it's about. The next one, I'd love to play you another quote, quite short and simple, and it's from Mark Hollis of Talk Talk. A beautiful quote. Here we go.
Before you play two notes, learn how to play one note, you know, and it's as simple as that, really. And don't play one note unless you've got a reason to play.
And there's just something about the beautiful simplicity of that statement, you know. With their final album, Laughing Stock, here, you can feel that what he's talking about in that quote there, you know, learn how to play one note, and don't play one note unless you have a reason to play it. You can feel that throughout his career, there's this reductivist element that is trying to find this note, this, you know, spirituality that's underneath the music he's trying to create, and discarding everything else along the way that is you know, peripheral to it or not elemental in what he's trying to do. And I actually really love that idea. It's kind of a purist. It's probably maybe a bit snobby of me in a way to latch on to it, but at the same time, I love this idea of thought that's imbued in music. You know, people, you can pick up an instrument and make a noise, but can you know, do you know where to insert the spaces that give context and meaning to that noise or that sound? And that's you know, a very underrated skill. Like I would even argue Malcolm Young, bless his soul, is a person who knew, even in, you know, the loudest confines of rock and roll, he knew the meaning of space in rhythm guitar. You know, so it's not as easy as it sounds, and I think Mark Hollis has a really, really good point on that one. Alright, number 4. And we can attribute that to the person you can hear in the background here, another long-time fave of mine, Brian Eno. Look, this guy is quotable across any range of things, and I got a lot of time for Brian's words. He's that epitome of what I was saying with Mark Hollis. There's thought and intent before even getting to making a sound. So one of the ones that I picked up from Eno not too long ago, I've got nothing against records. I've spent my life making them, but they're kind of a historical blip. And I don't know, Brian's, oftentimes he feels vaguely inflammatory on these things, but if you unpack it, there's something quite lovely about that, and it dovetails in again with his musical career. This is Reflection from 2017, and he's done this album here. He's basically given a 48-minute or 50-minute spread over 4 sides representation of an app he's put out that is almost a culmination of a lifelong's work of heading towards generative music or self-generative music. So music that creates itself given, you know, certain parameters and things. And it's just a really, really interesting idea. I think it even messes, in a sense, with notions of space and time. If you can have this music that could feasibly be new and different and evolving and changing over dozens and hundreds of years, and who knows for how long, you could then conceivably say that records are kind of a historical blip. In his case, anyway, that's what he's sort of aiming towards. So, you know, I do really respect that, even if the quote itself is rather cheeky. And also, if you give his context of you know, working on projects like The Long Now, which is trying to recontextualize or introduce humans in the modern era back into long form thinking patterns. I wish I could explain this better, but you know, there's a lot of merit, I think, in this mode of thinking, and especially as it applies to art and music in this instance. All right, the last one, pure and simple. This is a lyrical quote, and it just keeps coming back to me. The older I get, the more it seems to apply, and it's partly personal philosophy, partly just because it's so damn catchy and simple to pop into your head. From this here album, My Back Pages. I was so much older then, but I'm younger than that now. And aren't we all? You know, I think back to, look, even just pulling out this zine here and some of the things that I've written here. I'm sorry, Headley, for the blasphemy. What's so great about Nashville? Well, look, if I could take my younger self aside, I could tell him a hell of a lot what is great about it that I've learnt in those last 10 years. And that's the thing, that's the, you know, the folly of youth. You know it all. And the beauty of growing older, in a way, is you know, not so much unlearn, which is also a great way of doing it, but, you know, if you keep yourself open to the new, then you can keep yourself young. And I really like that notion. I was so much older then, but I'm younger than that now. I go around in my 20s and be thinking you knew everything, you know. And the older I get, the less I feel I know, and the more the world has a certain wonder to it, which is, at least I hope I try to keep things that way, because it imbues the world with a lot of meaning. Anyway, that's enough from me. I feel like it's gone into a philosophical rambling rather than a musical post. If you're still with us, thank you so much for checking in. Normal transmission will resume, hopefully. Again, thank you to new subscribers. Leave a comment or something. I really would like to get around to your videos and your channel as well. And a comment might just tick my obviously slow-moving, old, and possibly even overworked brain into getting back and checking out so many good new members or members I'm not aware of in the VC, some of which have lucky enough to have checked in. So, cheers to all of you, and I'll see you soon.